Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Backpack Hack channel, and today I'm going to give you a little overview of my recently completed homemade DIY totally hack backup solar panel system. Now first off, I want to apologize for making it look like I shot this on an iPad, but because I have so little room, in fact I'm sitting right against this and I can put my hand right in front of the camera. That's how close I am. I'm shooting with a fisheye, and about 8 inches on the back side of the camera is the opposite wall. So with this fisheye is the only way I can get this whole thing into the scene, so I had to shoot it vertically and present it that way. That's why it's not this way on your screen. I don't have an iPhone. I actually use Android, but you just bear with me on this. I call this totally hack because I've got some things going on here that really aren't exactly kosher. I'm not going to get into the details of that. Suffice it to say that my system does work. To start off with, this 2-inch conduit up here goes up through the roof and picks up the cabling for my solar panel systems. Here's the picture of it. And all I did was build a basic frame, mounted it up on the roof, put a 2-inch weatherhead down with some 2-inch EMT down into my utility room, and ran the cabling that way. And before I closed everything up, I put a little bit of fiberglass insulation in the weatherhead that's up there to keep bees and wasps and everything from building nests, as well as to keep this from being a chimney for venting warm air back out of the my house. Now this is my low voltage side. All the solar panels come in here and they are terminated on the top of this terminal strip. Down here is where I put jumpers in, so they're in series. I've got 4 panels. They each are capable of putting out about 20 volts. And actually it's putting out 79.8, 79.7 volts right now because I have them in series. The reason I did here is because not only because the cables reach down into here, but I wanted to be able to do some switching here if I wanted to. Now that's what these boxes here were originally for, so I could switch between series and parallel if I wanted to, but I found out I can't do that with the switches that I have available to me. So I just abandoned those. Right now they're all just in series. If I have to change them, I can do that here. So if a panel, let's say a panel goes out, not only can I test it here, but I can rewire them right from here. I don't have to go up on the roof in the middle of a snowstorm or a cold day or a hot day or a rainy day. I can do all my switching right here. If I got a panel that goes out, I can take it out right here. Yes, I'm going to take a hit on my voltage, won't charge the battery as fast, but I can do that within a couple of minutes right here. I've also got a disconnect that will shut off the solar power from coming down to here. So if I need to disconnect this from the whole system, I've simply got to switch to do that. Also, you'll notice some numbers up here. Those correspond with the numbers that are on the solar panels units up on the roof itself. So these numbers, if I say that these 2 terminals here are not putting out power, I know it's panel number 2 and it's marked as such up on the roof. Power then comes down through here, through this black and red wire. This black piece here comes off, and there are terminals underneath here to make connections with. There's just a couple screws here that pulls that on. But the power comes in on this red and this black. Then this is the Mppt solar charge controller. Right now it's accepting almost 80 volts from the solar panels. It's in float, and it's charging at 0.2 amps, 5 watts at 27.7 volts. I've got 2 12-volt deep cycle AGM31 batteries in series running on a 24-volt system. Power comes out through this red and this black. This black here isn't a power wire, it's the temperature sensor that's on the battery. So if they start to have a fault and they start to overheat, this will pick it up and will disconnect power from here, so it lessens that chance of a fire hazard. Comes down here, and I know you can't see all the way down here, but here's one of the batteries. I built a 2x8 frame, and there's just basically 2 more of these down below here holding both of these batteries. I added these handles so in case I needed to, I can move them around. Again, I'm running on 24 volts with 2 12-volt batteries in series, and that power comes out to this inverter. This is a 24-volt, 4,000-watt run, 8,000-watt surge. This is not 4,000-watt surge. This is 4,000-watt run. I can run my whole house on this, but not for very long because of the batteries I've got. But I wanted to oversize this as well as oversize this, so I don't have to keep constantly buying another one just to keep up with my upgrades. I didn't want to start out with a 1,000-watt or 1,500-watt inverter and then decide I want to run more things at the same time. and have to get a 2,000 and then go to a 3,000 and then go to a 4,000. I determined that 4,000 was the most I'll ever need. The way I use power in my house and what I have running at any given time, this, if I had the battery power behind it, will run everything in my house except for the air conditioner. I just don't have the battery power to do that right now for very, very long. If I ran it right now, I might be able to get 2 or 3 hours out of it. But my goal was to be able to run my refrigerator, my freezer, and my furnace for at least 3 days during a power outage, which has happened to me since I've lived here a couple times. So I got this and hooked it up to the batteries. And this is what I call my magic box. And this is where all the improper stuff is going on. And I'm not going to show it to anybody or try to explain to anybody how what goes on here works. Because you have to have a very good understanding of electronics and electrical theory. You have to understand bonding. You have to understand the difference between 120 volts here and 120 volts here. There is a difference. If you tried to simply hook this into here, you will burn this up. And I don't want to be responsible for anybody trying to emulate what I'm doing in here. Suffice it to say that the circuits that I want to run right now, and I've only got 2 in this right now, but my plan is to eventually get more circuits in here, some lighting circuits and such. But all I need to do, if power goes out, is turn on the inverter. And let's say I want to run my furnace. My furnace is now on here. Now what I would do is if I needed to run my furnace, is I would turn the thermostat all the way up, and I don't know whether it goes to 85 or 90. The reason for that is starting a motor uses a lot of power to get that motor up and running. It doesn't take much for it to go once it gets going. It's kind of like if you get into your car and the dome light's on and you turn the key to start the engine and your dome light is on, you see your dome light dim. That's because there's so much power needed to get that starter motor going and the engine cranking. Once it gets started, your light will come back up a little bit. Okay? Same theory here. I want to reduce the number of times that motor starts. So what I'll do is I'll go out, turn the thermostat on the furnace all the way up, switch it over to this system, let it run until the thermostat is satisfied. When I hear the furnace shuts off, I will come back here, flip this switch, and turn this off. I'll let the house cool down. Yes, I may be uncomfortably warm for an hour or two while the house cools down. And then as the house cools down even further, I'll be uncomfortably cool and I'll start putting layers on as the cooling process goes on. But instead of my furnace kicking on and off, on and off, on and off, 15, 20, 25 times a day in a 24-hour period, because it needs to have it, is trying to maintain a very, very narrow temperature variance, just 3 or 4 degrees, I don't mind having it 90 degrees and then having it drop down to 50 degrees. And then I'll come back, turn this on, flip this switch, and repeat the cycle. Then once my utility power comes back on, it will be running off of this again, simply by having this switch turned off. I'll do the same thing, only opposite kind of, for the refrigerator and freezer. I will turn this on, and I will hit this switch. This is the switch that will convert or hook up the circuit that runs my refrigerator and freezer to this instead of this. And I'll do the same thing with the thermostats, only I'll turn those all the way down as far as they will go. I normally keep my chest freezer at about 15 below, but I know, or I'm sorry, 10 below, but I know it will go to about 22, 23 below. Same thing with the refrigerator. I'll turn that down as far as it will go, let them run until they're satisfied. Again, the reason is all they got to do is start that compressor once. And the thing about compressors and refrigerators and freezers, not only are you trying to get that mass started, but you're pushing against the pressure of the refrigerant. So if you can reduce the number of time that motor starts, you can increase the amount of time you have on your battery. So the idea is I will turn those down, let them run until they are satisfied. The furnace and the freezer shut off, and then I disengage the system. Now, hopefully during that time, this will charge it up a little bit and maybe get a few more hours out of it to do that with. And I'm hoping that I can do this by cycling them on and off. And instead of having the refrigerator and freezer, which I know turn on and off every 45 minutes, both of them do. I've tested that. I've got a meter that I've recorded their usage in the panel here. This is where my electrical panel is right back here. And I've got a couple conduits right here that the circuits run through, but I know my refrigerator and freezer both turn on every 45 minutes. Now you sit there and do the math, how many times that starts up in a 24-hour period. If I can reduce that to 2, 3, or even 4 times, I'm going to get a lot more time out of these batteries by only having to start those compressors 2, 3, or 4 times, as opposed to how many? Every 45 minutes in a 24-hour period. You do the math. You can see that comparison. So anyway, that's my system. I oversized the charger. It will take up to 800 watts. Right now I've only got 80 watts on it. And I did a test run on this, and it took about 4 full sunny days, like I have right now, to bring the batteries back up. And I didn't think that was that bad. But because I have this conduit, because I have the space in here, and because this will take up to 800 watts, I can always upgrade my panels up on the roof without having to change this. I figured 800 watts would be more than enough. In fact, it's actually running 80.1 volts. So I would be able to add another 700 watts fairly easy and not have to change this. Same thing with this. I oversized this. So if I want to make it so I can run more circuits at the same time, all I have to do is add batteries. Or if I want more run time with the loads that I want to run, all I got to do is add batteries. So I'm not having to buy another one, buy another one, buy another one. Same thing here. Buy another one, buy another one, buy another one. And have to just keep upgrading these. I simply have to add solar panels or add the batteries, and I increase my capacity because I don't have to upgrade this and I don't have to upgrade this. All I have to do is add panels, add batteries. Anyway, that's kind of an overview. I did add a USB 4-port charger outlet here. So if I ever need to during a power outlet, I could charge my phone, my tablet, I got some flashlights that can be charged off a USB. And they have nothing to do with this. All I gotta do is turn this on, and this has power. I didn't put a duplex receptacle here or anything because there are a couple of receptacles right here in this thing. So if I needed to plug something in, I've got those there. But again, I could always just change this cover and add a couple outlets here if I wanted to. But that's kind of the overview of my solar power backup system. I have yet to fully test it to see how many days I can actually run my refrigerator and my freezer and my furnace, because it's summertime and my furnace isn't running right now. So hopefully sometime this winter I'll be able to put it to an acid test. I can get some days where it's rather chilly out, and I've got the time available to where I can be home and monitor this system. And in the meantime, I'm just going to continue to do some testing. I'm going to actually turn the breaker off for one of these 2 circuits, switch it over, and see how long it runs, how long I can get the batteries to last by toggling that circuit on and off like I was talking about. And hopefully I can get 2 or 3 days out of it. If I can't, all I got to do is buy 2 more batteries, series them together, parallel them with the 2 I've got, and I've doubled my capacity. And I can keep doing that if I want to add more batteries. So anyway, this is my homemade DIY, totally hack. You'll never get an electrician to build you something like this. Home backup power system. So this is Backpack Hack. Be safe out there, and I'll see you out there on the trail.